Hey, I have a question for you all. Where do all those bad folks go when they die?
Go to a lake of fire and fry.
There it is.
I don't know what that was, but it was weird.
Don't go changing. Try to save me. Guys, I don't even know the lyrics. What are the lyrics? Oh, man. There's something about before.
Don't be looking like a candy-covered clown.
Don't you feed me.
Let's go. I got things to do.
Sardines for Memorial Day. I had that stuff in Vietnam.
All right. We need our silence. Shut up. Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 32. I am Erik VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite Michael and Scotty, the VC boys. Say hello, Adam.
Hello, I'm Scotty Pippen. I didn't get paid enough money.
I'm glad you remember who Scotty is this week. Say hello, Dave.
Hello.
For this episode, we read chapters...
He's MJ!
I am.
And he's not excited about it.
I'm a man. Neither was MJ. He's a man of simple words.
For this episode, we read chapters 31 through 36 of The Shadow Rises. So we will begin our discussion with a revisit to an old but favorite segment, Who Wore It Better, before we move on to our view from Dragonmount. We'll talk about our most memorable moments and what shook your willow, and then return to the Aes Sedai and Eyes Baby. We will revisit our friends, the White Cloaks and Tighty Whities.
Nope. They're not our friends.
And I don't want to see them in Tighty Whities.
And then we'll follow Perrin through the fields in Of Wolf and Man.
Shapeshift, Adam McConnell.
And then we'll talk about the wise ones in The Hills Have Wise before we get Randy, and then wrap up with our Coplin of the week and who leveled up. All right, so let's do a little sashay down the runway.
Sometimes.
Who wore it better?
Hither and thither.
This is the segment where I give you a descriptive phrase of somebody's clothing and you tell me who it was.
I'm feeling sentient.
Who wore it better?
I feel
you
like...
give it to us and we...
I'm telepathically sending it to you.
I might know what this is. Oh, Mr. Carter, I know.
All right, here we go. Bare feet and wide trousers of brocaded yellow silk. Above, a darker yellow sash. She was quite bare except for the golden chains hanging around her neck. Tiny gold rings decorated her ears in sparkling rows, and most startlingly of all, another pierced her nose, with a thin medallion-lined chain running from nose to ring to one of the rings in her left ear.
Do I get 20 questions?
I was just going to let you keep going with that voice, because let's never do it again.
Wait,
that was
you thought it was so bad, you were like, I need more of it.
There
was
you go.
This person half naked?
This was a NudeElayne.
NudeElayne! NudeElayne!
Not like noodling. Two different things.
No. Unfortunately, NudeElayne was not noodling. Yes,
probably a good thing, actually.
It's Elayne in Egwene's dream as she sneaks up on her.
What a poser.
Yeah.
Trying out other people's
She likes
outfits.
what she sees.
No, I mean, it's secret desires of the heart, man.
That's right. She wants to run free.
She wants a better tan. Let's face it. That's really what it is.
Yes. No tan lines.
She's doing away with the tan lines.
She's just going to have weird gold bracelet tan lines.
Right, yeah. And a ring tattoo of tan line on her face.
On her nose.
Yeah.
She's sitting out there in the ocean staring up at the lone mountain called Dragonmount. So let's get our view from Dragonmount for the week.
The view from Dragonmount.
Another strange voice.
Are alive. All right, so
of wise ones.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that movie's overrated.
Wow.
You go out on that limb, Adam.
I really like that movie.
Last episode, we learned that the Aiels started out as pacifists and are the origins of the Tuatha'an. Perrin, Fail, Gaul, Bane, and Chiad fought Trollocs and Machin Sin upon the exiting of the Ways. And then Perrin chases a new foe in the Wolf Dream. His group arrived in Emond's field and convinced Bran and Meryn Alvear to hide him in the woods, only to discover that Meryn is already hiding some Aes Sedai there.
Great ad for a credit card.
Which leads us to the first of the chapters we read for this episode. Chapter 31, Perrin discovers the Aes Sedai sheltering in the old sick house. Ah, yes, the old sick house. The Aes Sedai in the old sick house are Verin and Alanna, who tell the group they just happened to be in Two Rivers looking for more girls who can channel.
Oh, we just...
who knew?
Oh, look where we are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my. We're in the Two Rivers. We had a long walk.
Tam Althor and Abel Cawthon also appear, and the group decides to scout the White Cloak camp to try to rescue Abel Cawthon's family and the Luhans. The scene then shifts to the Aiel camp just below Watch Hill.
Is this that Marty Sheen?
Where we learn that things between Ordeith and Dane Bornhold are not going well. Bornhold is forced to work with the maniacal lunatic because of orders from Pedron Niall, and Fane, it seems, is operating to his own designs while also determining how much longer he wants to leave Bornhold alive. Perrin leads Fael.
Black out there?
No. Did my eyes go glassy?
Maybe.
Perrin leads Fael, Verin, Tam, Abel Cawthon, Gaul, Bane, and Chiad on the scouting/rescue mission and stops along the way at the Alcine farm where he is introduced, that's Perrin, to Lord Luke. Luke is a hunter for the Horn and also the
He's a great guy.
And also the local champion who's been traveling about giving the locals courage and advice on handling the White Cloaks and the Trollocs. Perrin doesn't like Luke's advice and offers his own, which ends in the Alcine's agreement to follow Perrin's suggestion, pack up and head off to Emond's Field for shelter, taking as many of his neighbors as he can with him along the way. Perrin offers the same advice as his party heads toward Watch Hill and leaves a small caravan of people headed to Emond's Field in his wake. He also gathers a small platoon of eager boys seeking for glory behind a bold leader. The group arrives in Watch Hill and succeeds in their rescue efforts, with those rescued heading into hiding and Perrin's platoon heading off to hunt Trollocs.
Heading into hiding. Hiding into heading.
Rand emerges from Rydien in chapter 34 and fulfills much of the prophecies for He Who Comes with the Dawn. Couladin raises his ugly mug and tries to engage Rand and Mat in combat, but is stopped by Bear and the Peace of Rydien.
Buyer somewhere else.
We then have a moment for a little story time when Rand hears about his origins before he puts together a plan to announce his candidacy for the Kara Karn to the Aiel at large. Egwene, traveling in Tel'aran'rhiod, begins chapter 35. She has her first communication with her old friends before being given a rude awakening by Amis. She joins Moiraine, Aviendha, and the other wise ones in a sweat tent, and Aviendha is assigned to the task of spying on Rand.
More nudity.
On the way to Alcair Dal, a peddler caravan joins the traveling Aiel in chapter 36, and Rand makes veiled statements to Mat about the danger of the peddler and his friends, as well as what his next step will be. And that is the story we will be discussing this episode. So, with a little bit of an idea of the story we're covering this week, Adam, what shook your willow?
Well, my willow was shaken to the fullest when Verin was talking about that there are fewer and fewer girls with the ability to channel. She says they may have culled it out because of the stilling of all of the men. No big deal. And then she says,
wait, did you say the distilling of all of the men?
Right.
They're fermenting men?
They
distilled them down real nice.
Really nice. Make it
Soylent
nice.
Green is vodka.
Really nice.
It's vodka made with people.
Well, actually, that's what happened. They didn't distill the vodka enough, and it made them sterile.
And it tasted like people.
Yeah, and then she says that maybe the Aes Sedai should be the ones to have the babies. And as far as I know, we don't know any Aes Sedai that have had children. And I'm just wondering...
Can you imagine growing up with an Aes Sedai as a mother? That would be awful.
It would be.
I feel like many people have done that in real life.
No one has really the ability to control the elements that I know of.
Right. Well,
I don't know anyone either. I don't know any powerful Wiccan friends.
I mean, Elon Musk might think that his child is going to have these abilities, but...
No, I think that's more along the lines of John Travolta. He'll buy them. He'll buy those superpowers.
I'm not going to argue with that. That's true. John Trott definitely would be hoping, but that's a sad story.
It's John Tron, not John Volta.
Tra.
It's John Tra.
I like that.
John
I've never heard that before. But
I think I'd want to be.
Now.
I think if you were shortened my name and my last name was Travolta,
please.
I'd want to be
it's
Volta.
It's not me that came up with it.
Sounds like Voltaire.
It's sprinkled around.
I'm not the one that came up with it, but I'm saying,
about.
sprinkle it around.
Like paprika.
Anyhow,
I'm gonna start peppering that now.
Put a little pepper on that,
Please
boy.
Pop that pepper.
Pulp Fiction, starring John Tra.
Hey, have you ever seen that movie, Pulp Fiction with John Tra?
John Tra, it's a
Real
cult
good.
classic.
Really
All
good.
right.
Brought his career back in order. Anyhow, Aes Sedai, babies.
Aes
Do they
Sedai
have them?
babies.
Question mark.
It doesn't seem that way. We haven't run into any so far, have we?
Haven't seen
It
it.
wasn't like when they gave Egwene and Nynaeve the tour of the White Tower, they went, and there's the nursery.
We know the Greens are able to have more than one warder, and it seems like they also are kind of mischievous with the warders. Maybe not the right word, but they like tickling one another. Hi diddle diddle. Yes. They play that game, not
Maiden's Kiss.
Maiden's Kiss,
Yeah.
yes, that's the ideal game.
That doesn't
It's
seem to
the-
end well for the men.
It's the Aes Sedai version. So I don't know what's going on with them.
I feel like we have had it mentioned somewhere before about them not having kids. Like I feel like it's been mentioned, but I have no factual basis for that. But I feel like it's been brought up somewhere. What's
We'll
going
have
on
to
with them?
keep an eye out for Aes Sedai babies in the future. What shook my will this week?
It's going to be like the Brides of Dracula and that brood.
Or just the brood.
Someone says something about. Well, was it Verin that said that she? Who was it that said that they would? That maybe we should. One of them said we should.
Yeah,
be
Adam
doing
mentioned that.
Yeah,
Adam
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that she suggests perhaps one of the reasons why they don't have as many acolytes is because they've been
Not doing
gentling all the men.
Yeah.
And that's an entire source of the one power. We know that people who can channel are occurring without being born of Aes Sedai, but one would think that Aes Sedai having children would increase the population.
You would think.
And who knows what would really happen, though? We don't have
know,
any
yeah.
idea
We
of
don't.
whether
It
or
could
not
go
an
either
Aes
way.
Sedai.
Because they could also
Yeah.
give birth to boys, and boy, would that be bad.
Yeah, they
or
would,
they could give it to someone who just can't channel.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
That could happen too.
And I would not
Yes.
want to be that child in that family.
No.
Oh, you're special. Don't worry, you're special.
That'd be like if LeBron James married, I don't know, someone who also was like a superstar athlete and their child was like the worst
incredibly
athlete ever.
unathletic.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Can't even. Every time the little kid dribbles the basketball, it hits him in the face.
Yeah. Seriously.
Oh, that would be sad.
Like maybe he married Jenny Finch and the child couldn't play softball or basketball.
Let's all hope for little Bronny's growth spurt.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's all right.
Just hope for it.
Yep. Just
He's
hope
no
for it.
JonTron, so it doesn't matter.
John
Tron.
Now it's John Tron. He's a robot.
Yeah, I like
It's
that better.
definitely the
he's
robot.
a cyberspace robot.
Yeah.
All right. What shook my willow this week was the final conversation that we saw between Matt and Rand. You know, he
Now,
says, I'm
there's
going to do something totally
completely
unexpected.
different.
I'm going to break the rules. You should like that,
Something
Matt.
you will like, Matt.
And then Matt says, no. I mean, what are you going to do next? Are you going to go eat?
Yeah, I got it.
That was like,
I'm pretty hungry.
dude, you went way deeper there than I was thinking.
It's like I'm starving from Rudian, man.
I just
I'm not
wanted to
thinking
know
that
if you
far.
wanted Wendy's, dude.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Do they deliver out here during the pandemic?
that
Yeah.
sounds
Can I
delicious.
What would you get?
Wendy's
What would
makes
you
your
get from
hands
Wendy's
smell.
right now?
From Wendy's?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd get
You gonna go with the
I don't know, just
quarter-pound
the
double
cheese-
stack, Adam?
I would just get a regular a double stack is actually a great option. I like their chicken sandwiches.
I do.
You can't get a double stack chicken sandwich.
They don't actually. I don't think
No.
they make the double stacks anymore.
That would be wild.
That would be burger on top of chicken
They
with
used
cheese.
to have like a spicy club sandwich there that was out of this world.
Well, I thought
Oh
you meant
yeah,
just two
yes,
chicken
it was
patties.
good.
Yeah.
No, man, you got to have a burger in there, dude.
Well, all right, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Dave. What shook your willow this week?
My moment was the fact that last week we were speculating about who goes back into Roydian. And I believe we had thought the men went back in twice.
We're pronouncing it Raidian.
I'm pronouncing it however I choose. And
It's
This week.
rude. Every other week we're going to change the pronunciation of that
Right.
word. So this week I'm pronouncing how I just pronounced it, which I don't even remember how I pronounced it now.
Last week we said it was the women who went into Raidian twice.
Yeah, I think we were also speculating about how Rand would get his second
We were
marking,
Yeah,
and
right.
we
Word.
thought that and you actually, Eric, you did make the comment that you thought the men went back in twice. And I said that would make sense, except for the fact that no one else has two tattoos. And then we were thinking, okay, so maybe how's Rand going to get this second tattoo? So I thought maybe he'd have to go back in again. Well, no. He has a second tattoo.
He
doesn't
got it
even
now.
know that he's got the tattoo. Kind of, that was the shocking moment in my Willow moment of the week that was shaken, not stirred, was the fact that he had both tattoos. They were already there.
Yeah.
And actually, these things are greater than tattoos. They're, they're part of his skin.
Lost.
But yeah. So that was my my memento.
I wonder if they glow in the dark.
I bet they do.
Ripple. And
I bet they do too. I'm
the-
just imagining in my head that's just always shiny.
Yes, through his shirt sleeves.
If not, they should.
Well, sometimes you want to.
I think they should just they should emanate light.
And then they talk.
And then you just go,
"Hey Rand. Hey Rand.
You're screwing it up, Rand.
We're really thirsty, Rand.
Stop being such a jerk, Rand.
I could use a little raspberry ripple. And some
Wendy's.
Where's the Wendy's?
Really chapped, Rand.
You know what else is good at Wendy's? Their lemonade.
It's dry out here.
I need a Frosty.
A Frosty. Yes, exactly.
You know what was good at Wendy's?
It's really hot here in Rhydien.
The salad bar with the baked potato. Yes.
Yeah, salad bar sounds great right about now.
Wilted salad.
How many other people's hands can I get into my food? Let's move on to a little Eyes baby here. We finally discover who these Aes Sedai are. It's Alanna and Verin. Hey!
Back again.
Man, Verin cannot keep her fingers out of the cookie jar. She just...
Hey.
Moiraine is like going away, and Verin is just getting into stuff that she shouldn't be getting into.
Where there's not one, there's the other.
Yeah, maybe
Why do you
she's
think
Santa
she shouldn't
Claus.
be getting into it?
I don't know. Don't you think that there would have been a conversation between Moiraine and Verin if Verin was supposed to be there?
Yeah.
It sure seems like Verin just goes to where she thinks the action is going to be where Moiraine isn't.
I think Erik seems to think they have inside information.
That the White Cloaks were going to show up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that they're aware that White Cloaks are on the move. So the other thing we discover is it's only been like a year and a half since this story started. So I think that probably things have died down enough for her to just go back to Emond's Field where all of this began and sort of check things out. I think she also knows that the White Cloaks are going to be there. And I think she thinks that it'll draw some of the Verin there.
I don't think she has any clue about the White Cloaks, but that's just me.
So why do you think she's there?
I think she's there to harvest.
She's there for what she says she's there for.
Yeah. Now, that's Verin. Who knows about Alanna? Or maybe Alana's there and Verin's there for other reasons. I just never know with Verin. I mean, she's an Aes Sedai. So she's not going to be lying. There's an element of truth to what she's saying has to be true to an extent.
We know
but
true.
they go out of the way. They go out of the way
true.
to make it show that Verin goes. She says things just to the point where it is almost pushing a lie.
I mean, there's no arguing with the fact that there are girls there who can channel. I mean, she's found some, and I think she knew that they would be there. I think Moiraine probably knows that there are likely to be more women there also that can do this. But I think that at this point, that's not important to Moiraine any longer. And I don't think
with other stuff.
I don't think it's. I think Verin is a lot smarter and knows a lot more about what's going on with this. I feel like she knows a lot of the prophecies and is here because she knows that there is going to be action here, more action than just finding a couple of girls to add to the White Tower.
To what would be the end goal there?
I don't know what Verin's end goal is. She's insinuating herself into this story somehow for some reason. I don't know what it is yet, but it's clear to me that she wants to be involved in this Dragon Reborn story.
Yeah, so don't you think that it might be the fact?
Swan. I mean,
she has?
Yeah, Swan and Moiraine brought her into their inner circle.
Because she was there and because she piped up and started talking about who she thought Rand was, and they realized they couldn't get around her. They didn't start telling her to go places and do things.
They're all doing stuff to further the purpose of the dragon. Now, what that would be in this area, we don't know. It could be anything. It could be there because she thought Rand was going to be there, or they thought Rand was going to be there, but they didn't have information that the White Cloaks were going to be there yet that we know of. We're just assuming that she did. You're
I
assuming
think
she's got eyes and ears that led her there.
Well, we know that Swan knows they're going to be there. We know that Moiraine knew that they were going to be there. We know that Perrin found out they were going to be there. I mean, this rumor of them being there is deliberately being filtered out by Fane so that
but we
he's
don't have
trying
a time
to draw.
frame for when who knew what.
I would kind of tend to agree with Dave and the fact that they showed up before
I would agree.
the actual
I would agree with
cloaks were there.
if they got that knowledge, you would think, okay, Rand would go back, except that's not what Rand has done. Perrin goes
right.
instead.
Well, I mean, he's doing something.
But for me, it's a timing. It's a timing.
Well,
Seems to be.
I said that she suspects that the Ta'veren will show up. I don't know that she assumes it'll be Rand.
I think the natural assumption would be that it would be Rand.
She showed up on the journey she all of a sudden showed up to the Hunters of the Horn out of nowhere. Moiraine wasn't around, and she was with that entire hunt for the Horn of Valir. Just showed up.
Oh, yeah.
We've never gotten any sort of indication that anybody told her to be there. I think she knows more than what's going on, and I think that she knows where things are going to happen, and she also seems to have a penchant for knowing where Moiraine won't be.
Well, wow, that's an interesting point.
That's an interesting point, but I don't know that I buy into that whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. The explanation that they give kind of does make sense. So they've been down there for who knows how long, and they've already met 3 girls that can channel.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're saying they're going there to do, they're actually doing it.
I mean, it obviously
surprising.
has to be part of it, but it's probably not all of it.
So Verin is not the only one that's there. Alanna is also there. So when was the last time we saw Alanna?
Was it in the tower healing mat, or was it sometime after that?
Wasn't the last time we saw them when the ring happenstance happened with Egwene?
The testing of the ring.
Yeah, it was the testing where after things sort of went wrong, she came to Egwene and told her, hey, I'm really, really sorry. Maybe I should be punished by having to be with you for 24 hours a day for the next 3 weeks or whatever, however long it was.
And it seemed a bit of an empty punishment.
Well, it seemed suspicious. It seemed really suspicious to Egwene. She thought it was really odd, and she doesn't trust Alanna because of it. And apparently Verin doesn't trust Alanna either. Verin was also there for that. So both of those women have made it clear to Perrin to not trust Alanna.
Yeah, and Perrin's like, I'm not going to either.
Alana's made a couple of interesting statements about the Aes Sedai and their attitude toward Rand. So we know that the last time we saw Swan Sanche, she was going off to try to gather the Hall of the Aes Sedai and recognize Rand as the Dragon Reborn and try to get their support, try to get the entire tower behind Rand, which we all thought was dangerous and maybe still a little bit too soon, though you can understand with her fears of the institution crumbling underneath her, why she might be rushing to kind of have a success. But Alanna gives us a couple of statements about what's going on with the tower. She says that Elaida has been having fits over why Swan let the 3 boys go. What effect do you think that's having on the tower? And what effect do you think that might have on the proposition that Swan is going to bring before the Hall?
It's probably just more division. I think Elaida is trying to undermine the power seat that's going on. And how she might be doing that, I'm not exactly sure, but whatever she's doing is going to stoke that fire.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to be great. It seems like, I think division is the right word there. We talked about before that Swan is so one-minded, and it seems like she's forgetting her other duties in terms of the tower. So that seems like it's something that could be easily taken over if you bring that up, and other people are going to have some sort of complaint about the fact that she's so focused on that or something else rather than the tower itself.
And then Alanna makes this statement, it's dangerous to have the 3 boys free. With the seals weakening and the last battle coming, the last thing we need is 3 Ta'veren running about loose. What does that say about the Aes Sedai's attitude towards these Ta'veren?
I think the Aes Sedai like being able to control the power that they have and the power that someone else has. So if they're let loose, they're not going to be able to control that.
Yeah. It seems like they feel like they're meddlesome somehow, that like they're out there causing things to happen that are outside of the control of the Aes Sedai, and that's somehow that's bad for the world. and I think I've mentioned this before, it demonstrates a certain institutional arrogance that the only people who really know what's right for the world are the Aes Sedai, and no one else can, or no one else can be trusted to know.
But, I mean, they've been doing a pretty decent job for a while.
Everyone's still alive, I guess. So
that we know of. I mean, times they are changing, as we keep hearing.
And Forsaken, they are popping up.
I think that I would feel better about the custody that they've kind of taken the world into if most of the world trusted them and believed in what they were doing. The world hasn't gone up in flames. It just seems like there's a whole lot of people out there that don't have faith in their power.
I mean, I can see that happening just because there's so much hearsay about what happened in the breaking and what's involved with that.
Yeah, that's true.
There's very little fact that people have not actually met these people.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance, and there's been a lot of twisting of information over time, which we saw last week.
Not bliss.
It's funny though, Alana kind of wraps up that whole conversation with telling Perrin that despite, because they're getting healed by these women as this conversation is happening, and Perrin kind of pulls back from Alana, and she tells him, don't worry, despite how I feel about everything, I haven't gone so far beyond the pale that I would just make you a warder without asking or without telling you what I was doing.
She likes her men, Adam, but not enough to just do that.
She's still got some scruples.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've now seen 4 different societies deal with women who can channel. We've seen the Athan Mier, we've seen the Aiel, we've seen the Westlanders, and we've seen the Shan-Chan. We haven't seen how the Tinkers deal with women who can channel, so we don't know how that society operates. But we've seen it in 4 societies. So, what have we learned from the way each of these societies handles these women who have this exceptional ability?
I don't want to sound repetitive, but it seems like you really want to be able to control these women, or anyone that has this power, to be able to get above them. Like the Aes Sedai themselves are having to go through the rings and having to promise or whatever, take the oaths. So there's control that takes place there, which is good because you're trying to make sure that you're responsible with your powers.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Then you have the Shan-Chan, who are just like, we're going to take complete control of this situation.
Right, enslave them.
You have no choice. You have no choice in the matter. And then you have the Athan Mier, who we don't really know much about. I like the way that they're going about it because they're trying to keep things secret.
So the Westlanders, these women have risen to power and have created oaths for themselves to sort of bind that power so that society as a whole is not afraid of what they'll do with it.
Can trust them, yeah. In quotes.
And then they rule from behind the scenes. So they're not...
Or sometimes right out in the open.
Right, but they're not kings and queens that we know of. There have been Aes Sedai kings and queens, but they're not kings and queens. They're advisors. So that's Westland. The Shan-Chan have gone the opposite direction and have enslaved these people. The Aiel use them as a council, it seems, but they are a voice of wisdom amongst many voices, it seems, that advise in making decisions, though they certainly advise with a heavy hand. I think the clan chiefs listen to them in the same way that the village council in Emond's Field listens to the women's council in Emond's Field.
The clan chiefs can't become a clan chief unless the wise ones say so. The wise ones have to approve of them to go to Rhuidean. They are the ruling power. I think they approach it differently, but I think the power structure is still pretty much the same. It seems
different, but what you're saying is right. I mean, they definitely are a firm controlling body in the society up to what we've seen so far.
And we know less about the sea folk, though I will say that those women that can channel, they seem to have more of a purpose maybe, or they're more integrated, but they're integrated for a reason once again. They're being used to power the ships, and the ships are nothing without these women. They're not going to get as quickly as they're going to get from point A to point B without these women. So they're being used too.
The other major point about the Aiel, to go back for a second, is that you're right. The wise ones have demonstrated a major control over the Aiel society, but not all wise ones channel. So it's not.
But they seem to have control of the ones that do.
Right, but it is not a body. It is not a body made up of channelers. That is not the basis of the body.
Yeah.
Whereas
So
it is the basis of the White Tower. All right. So let's move on to a little Tighty Whities.
Yuck.
We learn a little bit more about Dain Bornhald here and Pod and Fane and what's going on in the two rivers, as they aren't just in Emond's Field. They're all actually, there's a major concentration just below Watch Hill. So they're all over the two rivers. But we do get a little bit more about Dain Bornhald here. We learn a little bit more about his character. So what type of person do you guys think he is?
Conflicted.
Person on the edge.
A man on the edge?
In terms of dealing with this Ordeith character.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Smelling the camp.
He's irritated by him, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And
he's
he obviously doesn't trust
irritated
him
by him,
for
and he's
good
also
reason.
suspicious of him.
Yeah, his patrolmen are strangely dying, which he has some very worded conversation with him about that.
Yeah, every time they go out on a patrol with Pod and Fane, they die. They're attacked by Trollocs.
He is definitely self-righteous. He's got that White Cloak self-righteousness.
We would have to be that high up.
His father didn't seem to possess
He still had a bit of it, though.
this, to my eye.
I mean, I feel like if you're a White Cloak, especially if you're that high up, you have some sort of self-righteousness.
Well, that's one of the things that I appreciated about his father, was that I felt like he was a contradiction to a lot of that. But
I know you love that guy.
Regardless, his son definitely possesses some of that. He also has no problems with his purge as a way for local communities to just get rid of people they don't like, which is disgusting. You know, he has no problems with knowing that the communities are just throwing out a bunch of people they don't like, and he figures out we'll probably get the dark friends that are in here, as part of that.
Yeah, no, let's just go do this. Let's put this stuff on people's doorways.
But he does have a problem with Fane. The very first time we meet him, he's just having escaped a Trolloc attack, and he is pretty certain that whoever is planning these attacks is aware that he is in the parties that are getting attacked, because it's always his party that's getting attacked.
Oh, you mean
every time?
Yeah, the Bornhald's
Right.
adventures, yeah.
I mean, he seems to think that it's Fane who is leading these, but at the end of the chapter, before the merge roll is introduced, Fane is still debating in his own mind about whether or not he shouldn't just leave Bornhald alive, or if he is going to kill him, when he's going to kill him, which would mean that he hasn't made the decision yet, and he's not sending these Trolloc attacks on Bornhald. Though we know that Fane is involved in Trolloc attacks, because he's involved in the Trolloc attack on the Ibarra farm.
It seems like there are two different Trolloc attacks. Or two different Trolloc, whatever.
There seems to be two different...
They're being directed by two different leaders.
Yeah, there seems to be two different factions. It feels like.
Right. We know that Fane wants to destroy the two rivers, but...
Flay them.
But that hasn't happened yet.
Well,
so
he's on it. He's started.
But that seems to be...
I don't get why he's not burning it down.
Despite what he's doing, he still is under the thumb of Bornhald. And Bornhald hasn't completely gone off his rocker yet, because he has a mission. What that exactly is, we know a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be completely destroy the two rivers.
What we know of his mission comes from the prologue of The Dragon Reborn and the conversation that Ordeith has with Pedron Niall, where he basically convinces Niall that the two rivers is a birthplace of dark friends. Much like Verin and Alana think it's a birthplace of women who can channel, Ordeith has convinced Niall that it is a birthplace of dark friends, and that it's just this brooding pot of dark friends. So we can assume that this army of White Cloaks is there to root out all of these dark friends and purge this area. Now, there's a big difference between that and what Fane wants to do, which is scourge it and raise it to the ground.
He wants to destroy everything because it's associated with Rand.
Right. And he also wants to attract Rand. He wants Rand to show up also as part of it. Fane is the one in charge. He is the CEO of this, of this group, but he's operating in some ways as if he isn't. He has this tiny little faction of his, off to the side, and he's leading them around and torturing tinkers and getting out of control and killing Ibaras. on the one hand, he's the commanding officer, or at least he's the highest ranking person there. But on the other hand, he does still seem to be controlling himself somehow and holding himself back, which seems odd to me.
It does seem odd to me, too, because I don't understand the point of him being there other than to try to draw Rand like he did on Tom on Head.
Yeah.
So I'm confused about what his ideology is.
Well, he is crazy. There. Quite honestly, he seems like he's got multiple personalities.
Well, he does. One is 3,000 years old.
I have a feeling that even though he's freed of the Dark One, he still has those hound instincts, because obviously he can still track. He still retained that ability to track Rand and
well, we also learned that it's not just Rand that he can sense. He can actually sense all three boys because he knows where Perrin is. He has a vague notion of where Perrin is, which confirms that, because that's something that we had in doubt leading up to this point. He also is having somebody in his dreams, just like Perrin had somebody in his dreams. And he is worried and wondering who the heck this person is that's in his dreams and what he's doing there and what that means for the geography and his plans for this area. And if there's somebody else around that can screw everything up that he's got planned, whatever that is. Does anybody else think that that person is Slayer?
That seems to make sense. If for nothing else, it's the only person we've seen appearing
in dreams in the area.
Other than Perrin, unless he's seeing Perrin in his dreams. I don't think so.
Yeah, it sure seems like it's Slayer. So now he's been in both Perrin's dreams and he's peeping into Fane's dreams as well. Or Deeth's dreams.
And we think maybe he's somehow in the real world shooting hawks and whatever.
Yep.
Wolves.
He seems
scaring away the wolves.
He seems to be shooting down
killing critters,
the predators that aren't dark friends.
Not too good.
So we seem to have two opposing antagonistic forces here to the light. There's Fane and then there's Slayer.
And then there's the
White
White
just
Cloaks,
showing up in the two rivers.
which are somewhere in between.
Right, yeah. Team Gray.
Right.
Does anybody else tie Slayer to the Murdral that Fane has in his tent there at the end?
It would make sense that the Murdral would be there with another person or another being that is more powerful than him.
Well, no, Murdral can go out on their own, sent on a mission, and lead a fist of Trollocs with them.
Yeah, but with the evidence that we're being given, that it seems like there are two different camps of these Trollocs and Murdral.
Yeah, I guess that would, if we're associating Slayer with the Dark One, like as a
I'm not
force.
No, I'm
which
not.
I wasn't.
I'm not associating with the Dark One.
Just
I'm
dark,
associating
evil,
with
bad, not necessarily associated with Shayatan.
Well, we've seen thus far the only thing not associated with the Dark One that's evil is Mordeth.
No, Machin Shin, we don't know what that's associated with. That's another random.
I'm sticking that in Mordeth or Deeth. They're all lumped together. That's all connected.
So that would be an indication that there can be other evils that aren't associated with Shayatan.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I would say that this Slayer character is associated with the Dark One, because I think that's just too great of a coincidence to have three completely random evils in the world.
Okay. Fane hasn't identified Slayer. He doesn't even know the name, but he does know that there's somebody else out there that's in his dreams that's causing him problems.
Consternation, to be sure.
And so if you were trying to figure that out, what better way than to capture a Murdral if you could do that and get it out of him?
Pry information from him, yeah.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I just think it's amazing that he has the power to do this.
It is
a whole nother evil.
It is an incredible scene there that's possible, though, of course, we've seen Fane capture and torture a Murdral before. So let's move on to a little of Wolf and Man and talk about Perrin, because we get positive Perrin here. Some good Perrin.
About time, P. About time.
The first thing, though, that I want to talk about with Perrin is something that I'm not sure is good or bad. I don't know what it is. Perrin avoids telling Tam about his son and his abilities and what the track that he's on and what he's doing. You know, what do you think about that?
I get it, but I don't know if it's the best thing. He's already gotten the information that his family has died. It seems like maybe I got that information and I should share the information with Tam about his son. But it's kind of understandable that he doesn't.
I mean, I get wanting to spare the dad the bad news.
It seems like it would have been better news if you told him.
Yeah.
Or not better news. It seemed like it would have been a better choice if he told him.
The trajectory that Rand's on, I feel like he's not going to see his dad. Because if he can't go back to Emond's Field under these conditions, what conditions can he return there in?
Well, he chose not to go back to Emond's Field.
It just doesn't seem
deal.
like the timing is ever going to be right for him to return to Emond's Field. He's going to have more and more responsibilities as this story hurtles on, not less and less where he can go and take a vacation day.
He can't go
in
home
Emond's
again.
Field. No, especially not when Perrin hasn't laid the groundwork by telling
for
everyone,
Perrin.
by the way, he's the Dragon Reborn.
I wouldn't want to tell him. It's not it's not his responsibility to tell him.
Whose is it then?
Rand's.
Ultimately, it would be
Rand's
great.
choice, then.
That's ideal. In a binary way, of course, it's Rand's choice. But Rand is choosing the greater good over his own personal feelings. I don't know that that is necessarily Rand's choice.
I mean, it would be great if Perrin knew Rand's backstory and the fact that this wasn't actually his dad. Maybe that would help things out.
That's right. Yeah.
He
But not by
should
blood.
know, and I think he should know by Rand, but I don't think that's the way it's going to work out, and I don't think it should be Perrin telling him either. I think it should be Rand, but I think it's just ultimately he's going to find out
In the
somehow.
papers.
He's gonna find
Yeah.
he's gonna find out
The
by
local
the
Herald.
Rumor,
Yeah.
the rumor mill, or it's going to spread throughout the world.
Hear
that-
ye,
by one of the
hear ye.
Coplins. It's gonna be one of the Coplins.
Randall Thor is actually the Dragon Reborn.
He
I mean-
wasn't your boy after all.
even though he knew that.
Adam, what do you think of Lord Luke?
Perrin doesn't like him from the get-go.
I didn't ask you what Perrin thinks about him. What do you think about? Oh, you don't
I
get
don't
okay.
like him.
You don't okay, why not?
I'm presented with the fact that Perrin doesn't like him off the bat right away.
You can't get out of Perrin's head.
Well, he is Perrin. Let's
No,
not forget.
because it's just the way he
Adam
looks.
is
The
Perrin.
way his plans are bad. Luke's plans are bad. It's trying to keep everyone out there separated so they can be easily attacked. That's suspicious.
He's also smarmy.
Well, he's dressed really well and whatever. But no, I think the biggest thing is he reacts very strangely to seeing Verin there and understands who she is right away, and then just gets really, really, really scared of it, and or suspicious of it. I wouldn't say scared, but suspicious
Of
of
Verin.
Verin, of an Aes
who
Sedai.
she
being
is. He
there.
recognizes
Okay,
He knows
gotcha.
an Aes Sedai without seeing the ring, and then also. He's like, oh, I'm from this area. You wouldn't know. It's very small.
Right. Yeah. It's like I dated a girl from Canada. You'll never meet her.
While Verin is talking to Perrin, she mentions the fact that she thinks maybe the Trollocs are a lure. Another indication that Verin knows more about what's going on here than she's telling anyone.
I think anyone could have deduced that. Let me rephrase. Any Aes Sedai could have deduced that. It's like no matter what she says, we're going to be naturally suspicious of it, even if it's something that isn't something to naturally be suspicious about. And Perrin seems to think so. Perrin is on the same wavelength as Verin. She's just saying it out loud.
Well, the way that Perrin talks about it after she makes the suggestion is that Perrin is thinking of that for the first time, and he does agree with her. She mitigates that statement also. She also says, what they're a lure for, we may not know yet. It seems like she backs off of it a little bit after she makes the statement, perhaps because she realizes she's revealed too much. But Perrin doesn't seem to have thought about that beforehand. It's not necessarily obvious to him. Adam, you made the observation that Perrin doesn't like Lord Luke.
We don't
Well,
like
yeah,
Lord
and then
Luke.
there are
No one
mitigating
does.
factors because all of a sudden Fael, although she gained some respect for me, is trying to also flirt with him right away.
Yep, Fael has her moment there where she tries to get Perrin jealous.
2 boys in 30 minutes.
She's pulling
Aside
them,
from that,
them tricks.
just his plans for his people, and they're bad plans for his people. They're not doing what Two Rivers people should be doing, which is understanding that you can, like, what is burnt down can be regrown instead of losing life. He's more interested in the fact that you could be losing people's lives rather than losing your barns or losing your sheep or losing your wheat. He's very focused on just the fact that we need all to get together, the Trollocs and the White Cloaks.
He doesn't like him. There are a lot of reasons for it. Luke behaves oddly. Like, he stiffens up at recognizing the Aes Sedai. He makes that statement about where he's from, and Verin tries to nail him down, like, where in Saltea are you from? And he's
garbage.
He's really vague about that.
He's blatantly lying.
He withdraws from
And being
Fael.
about a hunter from the Horn, which Fael is, yeah.
Right.
Everyone starts to call him out on something, and he disassembles away from it.
He
And
probably has soft boots.
he's afraid of the Aes Sedai. He withdraws from Verin. he treats the people really, really coarsely. He definitely treats himself
But they
amongst...
love it.
Perrin doesn't. Perrin recognizes what's going on, the disdain with which he holds the Emond's fielders, and he's not having any of that. You know, there's a lot to sort of set Perrin on his heels. The interesting thing to me was Luke is doing the same thing that Perrin is doing, even though Luke's advice isn't all that hot. He's trying to help the Emond's fielders get on their own feet so that they don't need the White Cloaks. And isn't that what Perrin is doing?
Is that what Luke's doing?
They're not.
Do we
I don't
know
think
that?
so.
Ostensibly.
I don't trust a thing that Luke does.
I mean, at the outset, that's what he's doing. Whether or not you think that he has some ulterior motive for doing it,
That's what he says he's doing.
He may not be doing it well.
I don't even know that's what he's doing. He might be herding them in a certain direction, like sheep to the slaughter.
Well, he's not herding them anywhere. He's having them stay where they're at.
He's specifically saying that he's protecting them from the from the Trollocs.
Well, he's giving them advice. He's giving them bad advice on how to protect themselves from the Trollocs. But he's doing it because he's telling them you shouldn't be reliant on the White Cloaks to protect yourselves. And Perrin is saying the same thing. Perrin is saying you shouldn't be reliant on the White Cloaks to protect yourselves from these Trollocs. Otherwise, you're going to have problems with the White Cloaks after all this is over.
Yeah, there's just...
True, they're saying the same thing in terms of that. I
think the delivery is wrong, and I don't believe... We know Perrin's intention. Luke, his intentions don't seem to be matching up with the way he's acting.
Yeah, you're right. We know that his advice is bad. Perrin's rationale for how they should handle themselves makes far more sense. Perrin debunks Luke's methods.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just funny that they both, at first blush, have the same purpose. The major difference seems to be, to me, that one guy is not likable and the other one is. And we know a lot more about Perrin. Luke is still a little bit of an unknown to us. All we know at this point is we don't like him and he's arrogant.
And his plans are bad.
That's a big strike against him. So Perrin goes off and rescues the Luhans and the Cothins from
no big deal.
White
we don't
Cloak
really have to talk
camp.
about that because it happened really easily.
It happened really easily, and also
We've seen it before.
Doesn't it?
We've seen it before.
It's almost exactly the same rescue as the way that Moiraine and Lan rescued Perrin and Egwene from the White Cloaks.
Rescue Perrin.
I mean, there's some differences. He has to knock out that White Cloak on the way there, who nearly kills him, by the way. So it's not like it's super easy. He's only saved by Fael clonking the guy over the head.
Fael really saves his butt because that guy was really strong.
It seems like the plan for getting in and rescuing people from the White Cloaks is sneak in, throw on a White Cloak, and then use their horses to get away.
The first time they went in, did they throw cloaks on? I don't think they did.
Lan didn't need to because he's mostly invisible.
They didn't capture any White Cloaks to get their cloaks.
They put it on the Luhan.
Yes, they did this time.
We're talking about the original time they went in.
The original time.
When they had to get Perrin out.
It seems like the White Cloaks' perimeter guards are not very good. And they
make all their picket lines they've set up.
Right. And for as organized as they are, Jordan makes a point of observing that these guys who are guarding the perimeter only look directly in front of them. They never look to the side. We see that both times that this camp gets penetrated. Well, that's an interesting observation
about White Cloaks in general.
That's true. There's a metaphor there. But it's just funny to me that in both instances, the White Cloak's own horses are used to execute the rescue. It happens both times. Granted, these may be different people, so they didn't necessarily learn that lesson the first time. But you would have thought word would have gotten around, hey, keep the horses a little bit more tethered when you have prisoners that might be in need of rescuing.
Yeah.
So that is...
But Bayer was really willing to maybe kill them in the next couple days. The prisoners.
Yeah, he's always willing to kill somebody and not care about it.
Really? I mean, he was...
It was mentioned. It was specifically mentioned.
It was, but he seemed to mention that more because of trying to deal with the pressure of Fane and just to get Fane to go away than to actually want to...
It doesn't matter what it was.
I wish Bayar would kill
willing
Fane.
to do it. It would be...
Well, it does matter. Bad. It does matter whether he's actually genuinely willing to do it or not, or just saying stuff for Fane to leave him alone.
He wasn't saying that to Fane. He was saying that to himself.
All right, so let's move on to The Hills Have Wise. So it didn't take Egwene long to break her promise to the Wise Ones, did it? She's off dreaming with her friends. I mean, it's just amazing. It's not amazing. It's
she
completely
never meant
in
to keep
character.
that part of it. It's
I mean, I guess she had no choice but to
make.
make the promise that she would obey them.
It had a caveat that they didn't know about.
Right, yeah, that as long as she's talking to her friends, it's not breaking her promise.
Right. My intentions are good, so therefore it's fine.
So Amis gives Egwene a pretty good thrashing here, or at least a really good scare.
Great mental thrashing.
Demonic?
And then threatens her with more punishment to come, a lot more drastic, if she doesn't fall in line. So
Can you imagine, like, you wake up and this person's face starts morphing and turning into this hideous
lizard face.
Super creepy.
It's really a scary moment.
You've gone from a dream to a nightmare to reality.
But I feel like she deserves it.
Yeah.
And
I do too.
Yep.
I feel like she's got a lot more pain to come.
I feel like it didn't do any good.
No.
No. I mean, it taught her something. If nothing else, she's probably thinking, that's something I can use in the future.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
She's learn nothing.
She's going to try to figure that out for sure.
Right.
And probably figure it out. So she's off sulking to herself, and she's upset that she makes the observation to herself that all Matt has to do is simply be, and everything goes right for him.
It's not fair.
Right. Is that what we've seen? Is that everything goes right for Matt?
I will say that things seem to turn out in Matt's favor.
I seem to remember a dagger instance that didn't go so well.
He doesn't. I think the end result seems to turn out well for Matt. The journey to get there, not so much.
No.
He was hung and nearly died. That didn't really go so well for him.
He's been chased by a gray man
Several times.
He's fallen from great heights onto a gray man.
He's seen some things.
Things have not come easy to Matt, even though he's gotten lucky on certain occasions for sure, and we now know that he will be lucky again. Egwene is just a little sulky here, and I think it's ridiculous that she thinks she's the only one who's suffering.
Yeah, he's Tavir, and he'll just figure it out.
Right, yeah.
No big deal.
Just like Rand, everything is just sort of falling into place for. What do you guys think about Elayne? She seems to be the one wise one who's sort of not Team Rand.
I think she's just Team Aiel.
Yep, she's definitely, I mean, from what we know about what Rand is going to do to the Aiel, you could get why somebody would be like, I'd rather this not happen.
Yeah, I'm not gung-ho on you destroying us and leaving just a little fraction of us left alive to be saved. I mean, she eventually goes along with everything. She just takes a lot of convincing.
Yep, she's
which
just
is probably good.
Stubborn.
It's good to have someone that's concerned about everybody to need some convincing, but is going to eventually see the right way to do it, I guess, if this is indeed the right way.
Does Moiraine seem a little bit grimmer since she's returned from Rydien?
She's certainly more suntan. Yeah, she seems a bit more solemn.
Yeah, she has gathered up this information about the future, and she seems to be worried about it.
It doesn't seem to have favored her as she sits there in the sweat tent with the rest of the wise ones. This is an interesting way to shower, by the way, in a land where there is no water. To
sweat and scrape it off.
Sweat it out and scrape it off with stones.
That sounds very uncomfortable.
Have your guy shine come in their white robes, but it's Aviendha who's actually keeping the steam going. Aviendha, who is forced to spy on Rand.
Right.
Is that... she's going to be the worst. She's going to be the worst spy ever.
It's just going to be a ridiculous emotional affair.
Yes.
She's just going to stare at him.
Well, right, because... and they're just counting on the fact that apparently she's very attractive. So they're just counting on the fact this is another... By the way, these women might be wise, but they're not wise when it comes to this.
Rand talks about it. It's hysterical how his reaction is. It's like,
he knows what's going on.
Pretty. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to tell you everything right now because you are good looking.
I mean, she's pretty, like a flower in a cactus is pretty.
Yeah.
You can see the cactus is there. You're not going to go and pick it.
If you touch that cactus, it's really going to hurt.
She's funny.
But she's also sulky pants about it as well. I don't want to be a wise one.
Yeah.
I don't want to spy on Rand. I'm not going to do it. Yes, you are.
It sure seems like the wise one, sort of treat this like the army, and they're going to find the one thing you don't want to do and have you do it so that you learn discipline.
And they discipline harder than the White Tower.
That's what they say.
Do.
I mean, I don't think the White Tower would scare the crap out of one of their trainees in in order to
Unless your
teach
name's
them a
Elida.
lesson.
Elida was doing that when she was in the room
she
with
just
them.
whip you. Okay.
Once again, she's a bit of an outlier.
That's our conversation with the wise ones there, as they're still on Sheen Deer, though they are now moving to Al-Kharadai.
The Golden Bowl.
They
The
put
Golden Bowl.
Kool-Aid Man in his place.
Man, that guy just doesn't seem to respect
Anyone
orthodoxy whatsoever. He's the anti-Aiel. He's the anti-Eel.
Anti-Eel. It's an Antil.
All right. Let's get Randy here. We get a lot of Rand here toward the end in chapter 36. How does Rand not know about the second tattoo?
I have no idea.
I guess he can't feel it. He
Well,
didn't
that's
look
kind of
down
like,
to see
right.
it.
It's nothing new.
I don't
It's
think
like,
he can feel it being
No.
applied. Right. I don't think
it's not a new sensation, so you just think your skin is your skin. You don't
Right.
look at your skin to see if you've grown something that you would never think would be there.
Right, but he's learned a lot about this whole process. Like, he's learned through books, and he's been studying the Kara Karn, he who comes with the dawn.
Maybe that's not in a book out there.
But he knew it. But once she said all the signs, because they don't
She
prompt
yanks it
him
down,
as
though.
to.
Because he has
100%.
no idea what she's talking about.
She tried to be like, no, show both signs. And then he's like, what's going on? And then she pulls his sleeve down.
So
So
that was
yeah,
a really tight sleeve.
he's not aware
His
that
sleeves
a
were really
second
long.
tattoo
You know those are
appears.
plumey.
So that eluded his studying somehow.
It eluded all of us. We all thought it was
Well, it
going to
eluded no one, like only a few people. Only
And how
maybe,
did they
what,
know?
2 people knew that would
Yeah,
happen?
it's like, they had insider knowledge. They had inside trading.
We learn a little bit about what he saw in Rydien.
They were Russell Crowe. They were the insider.
We learn that while all men see the story through their ancestors' eyes, there are 2 stories that they all see through the same set of eyes, and that is the sharing of the water and the agreement of Rydien which is the first vision that Rand sees.
I mean, they're obviously watershed moments. Why they are, I'm not exactly sure.
The agreement of Rydien is incredibly important, because it explains why this ritual exists in the first place.
But it seems like there are other things in there, like how the Maidens of the Spear come about. That would be like equally important to me, or how the Jen kind of disappeared and separated out, and how the Tuathalan disappeared and separated out. If they're not having those equal moments being shared, also to me, those are really important things.
It just seems like the 2 things that are most important are, we don't give shelter to anyone here. Why do we give shelter to the Kyrianan?
But they give shelter to not shelter, but they allow the passage of the Tuathalan, but that's not an important thing.
Well, we learn that. They learn it.
But apparently they're not all seeing it the same way.
Does seeing it through somebody's eyes, are there some Aiel who miss that entirely because their forebearers aren't part of that story?
I don't know. That's a good question.
One wouldn't think that would be the case.
I wouldn't think so either, but maybe they just view it differently, or maybe they have different reactions, or maybe someone sees it through the eyes of a Jen and someone sees it through the eyes of a Tuathalan. Who knows? So
then we get to Shael's story, the story of Rand's mother, who is this woman who just appears in the waste.
She came over to the mountain.
She's been told by an Aes Sedai named Gitara Moroso that she needs to do this, otherwise her people will die and her kingdom will die. So she does this. She leaves her family, she leaves her child, and here she is in the waste, and then she gets raised up as a spear maiden. She's the only non-Aiel spear maiden, apparently, in the history of the Aiel. So
Gitara Moroso, whom we obviously know, she's also the one that foretold Rand before she died.
So she's a known Aes Sedai with the foresight.
She particularly says your people are going to die and your kingdom are going to die. Are they 2 the same thing, or are they 2 different things?
It is odd that she makes both things, because usually we would think of them being synonymous.
Right. I feel like there's some significance to that. What that is, I don't know. But that seems to have some significance to this mystery woman who appears out of nowhere. Then we know is eventually going to go back during the war to give birth to Rand. So she crosses back with the Aiel when they go back and fight. Eventually, Tam finds the baby on Dragonmount. For as much as more information we're learning about her, there's still a whole lot we don't know.
Other than the mention of the fact that Rand's father wasn't the Aiel, it was Rand's mother. This is the first time we get development of how that actually happened. So Rand's origins are really, really strange. Really strange.
Yeah, Rand's mom is an Aiel, but is not an Aiel.
Right, and Rand's got a half-brother out there somewhere. And
who may or may not have killed his father.
Well, right, there's that odd incident that his father, who is Janduin, his father Janduin goes off as...
His half-brother would have to be pretty old to have killed his father, if you think about it from an age standpoint.
Right, but all we know is it's really strange that his father gets killed by somebody who his father is convinced looks like his mother.
Looks like his mother.
Could have been a sibling of Rand's brother.
Could have been a sibling, could have just been somebody from the same nation, but there's some sort of similarity, and obviously there's significance there. There's significance there that this person killed him, and there's significance that this person looks like his wife.
Don't they all look the same anyhow, though?
Speaking of significance...
Everyone's like, Rand, you look like a...
And it just triggered into my brain. One thing we didn't cover with Perrin and Luke was Perrin thought he'd seen him before.
Right. Perrin thinks he's seen
Perrin.
Right. And then Luke gives Perrin a look of surprise, as if Perrin was somebody Luke had seen before and didn't expect to show up here.
Perrin thinks he's familiar and can't figure out why. Yeah, he's familiar. And that just goes to this thing of someone looking like someone killing.
Sure.
You know, there's So I just wanted to throw that in there because that was an important moment.
So Rand's history is also very strange, which is probably appropriate for somebody that is this important to the story and this sort of odd.
I like that it's just not he's just some kid from the Two Rivers, you know, who's the dragon reborn. It's there's a mystery to it.
So the title of this final chapter is Misdirections, and these peddlers show up, of whom Rand is really, really suspicious. You know, we constantly get references to things going on behind Kadir's eyes, and he's a dangerous man. Rand talks to Matt about the danger that he sees in Kadir. You've got Kadir's...
Kylie Sheogi.
Oh, an easy name like that.
The fat one.
The fat one! So his slightly heavy-set traveling companion who has a voice that doesn't match her.
Slightly heavy-set?
That doesn't match her face.
She's supposed to be huge.
Okay. and then they have...
Rolls of fat have rolls of fat. And
then they have like a Gleeman, right? Who just sort of pops out there all the way at the back. He's
sneaking around in the background.
It's an odd group.
There's danger that's going to come from this group in some way. Rand is waiting for it, and he seems to be the only one.
He makes that statement, like when the peddlers are showing up, he specifically says he came into the waste. I wonder if he'll leave it again. So Rand's thinking someone's here.
Yeah, and that there's going to be some sort of conflict that might end in that guy dying. All right, who is your Coplin of the week, Adam?
Adana.
Menzel?
The farm folk that was saying that Matt and Perrin and Rand kidnapped Egwene.
We didn't really get into that much.
She's in the old Alcine house complaining about the Trolloc raids and
how they must be Perrin's fault.
Right.
She's all suspicious of Perrin.
That was a great Taviran moment, and I liked how Verin talks about that. Seeing Taviran at work, and it's the first time she's ever really witnessed it.
Yeah, mostly she's just looking at him questioningly.
Sways everything. But yeah, that woman's super annoying.
He sways everyone against Adina and the direction that he would have them heading in. Yeah, she's a nuisance for sure, and a true Coplin for sure. Even though she actually isn't a Coplin.
But then at the end, doesn't she seem to give him grudging respect for
grudging? Yes.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
While everyone else is just giving him respect.
Right.
Yes, her respect is grudging for sure.
We're gonna ignore it. Side quest here. This is something that is actually very fascinating to me. We find out that the last murder that took place in the Two Rivers was some woman that wanted to have a new husband, so she killed her husband.
Yeah, it's like a passive
What do you think
comment.
happens in that? Do they kill her? Do they hang her?
They might stone her.
What do you think happens?
Tie stones around her ankles and chuck her in the Brandywine River.
It's it.
I mean, some definite frontier justice. I could certainly see stoning. Probably not hanging. I don't see the people of Emond's Field hanging anyone. Do you?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or maybe
why
they banish her.
You think this woman was
maybe
killed?
they leave her in the mountains of mist to fend for herself?
Right,
with
yeah.
no supplies.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
They send her off to the waste.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was wondering about the court system in the Two Rivers.
My Coplin of the week is Kool-Aid Man.
Hey, Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah.
He's a spear
This guy
idiot.
This guy is not an Aiel. He is the Aiel who is not an Aiel. Yeah.
I hope this isn't what all the Shido are like.
He seems like a...
Because if it is, that's
like
problems.
I don't know. He just seems like someone that's
Why these people tolerate this guy? How has this guy not been killed previous to this story?
He's probably a good fighter.
He must be. He's one of those guys that's been picked on so much that he's become a good fighter.
He's scrappy.
He's my Coplin of the week.
He's a good pick.
Who's your Coplin of the week, Dave?
We're back to my old boy, Podden Fane.
We are back to your old boy, Podden Fane.
Creepy. Oh, yeah, I picked him many a time as my Coplin of the week.
I picked him to level up.
Yeah, you picked him as who leveled up.
He's creepy. He's gross. I'm sure he smells. And he's all sorts of evil and wrong.
He is evil incarnate.
Yeah. And I don't like him.
I understand that.
Who leveled up?
Who did level up indeed? So my pick of the week would be Amis.
Surprising.
Yeah, it's
to all of us.
She demonstrated this crazy ability to,
she can dream in 4 dimensions.
Yeah, like her ability to manipulate the dream is so good that she convinced Egwene that she was awake. So the details had to be so real of like the tent and what Egwene was feeling and experiencing. So she was manipulating Egwene's emotions and her feelings and her thoughts, and that's a crazy amount of control. And then she melted her own face.
So it's mostly the melting of the face. But
it isn't just that. She pulled Egwene out of her own dream.
Yep, yeah.
And brought her into her dream.
And made her think that she was in reality.
Yeah, that's crazy power. Oh, and then she dealt with Kool-Aid Man.
Pretty effectively.
Yeah, put him in his place, and she knew about, Rand's lineage. She put Aviendha in her place also. So she did all sorts of crazy leveling up this week for me.
Who leveled up for me is Perrin. He's taking over the entire where he came from. He understands what these people are. He understands how they should be acting. They're a little bit shocked. And he's taking things into his own hand, and he's getting people excited about what he's doing.
He's ta'veren.
He's ta'veren. So it's all just happening. It's
really
amazing. Meanwhile, Fael is like, have you ever been a soldier or a warlord before?
Some of my dad's people act like that. My mysterious father that we know nothing about.
So, Perrin, well done. You're getting the village people behind you. You also went.
They're doing the YMCA.
You also went. You rescued Matt's family members,
and they're all going back to Emond's Field.
Yeah, you're all going back to Emond's Field.
Mine is Rand. Rand leveled up because he's obviously got a lot going on in his head. There is a major plan that is about to unfold here. These travelers, these peddlers seem to be coming in as part of something that he's anticipated somehow. And
he and Matt make it back from
and
they're automatically confronted by Kool-Aid Man chucking spears at him, and he keeps his cool through that. I would have flipped my lid. I would have seized the power and been like, let's do this right now. But not him.
But he's got bigger plans, and he has some perspective here. So, Rand, you leveled up for me. And that wraps up episode 32 of our Jack of the Shadows podcast. So join us in episode 33 when we will cover chapters 37 through 42. Until then, may you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you know good hunting, young bull, and cheese to give you many cups.
Doviende se toyas again.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it's time to toss the dice.
All right.